Now to one of the biggest issues facing regional communities at the moment, the destruction of prime agricultural land to make way for the massive transmission towers needed to connect the new wind and solar projects to the grid. Joining me to discuss this, someone with first-hand experience of what it's like on the ground. She's a sheep and potato farmer from Torello, a farming community north of Ballarat. Katherine Myers. I don't even know if I said Torello properly.
Nailed it.
Oh, perfect. Welcome to the program. Tell me why farmers are so against these transmission lines.
So obviously there's a number of issues at play, but the main one is it has a serious impact on how we can produce quality food and fibre for the country. So particularly for irrigated horticultural crops, there's limitations on how we're able to irrigate our crops, how we're able to manage our crops during the season. So
why is that? Like, why can't you continue to irrigate as you are and continue those farming practices?
It's the guidelines put in place by AusNet and Energy Safe Victoria on safe operations around high voltage electricity. And as farmers, we want to protect our staff and make sure they're safe, so we're going to be following those guidelines. The other thing that we do regularly during the season is use helicopters and aeroplanes to manage the health of our crops, so aerial spreading and spraying, and that's prohibited underneath transmission line easements, as are emerging technologies such as drones.
Now, we've seen farmers protest in front of Parliament here in Victoria. You're getting a lot of support from people, but is anyone listening in government at state or federal level?
Not yet. Both federal and state have got a lot of pressure put on them by EMO, and I keep being told that the lights are going to go out, and there's this urgent push to connect up new generation sources. However, we know that if appropriate technologies that were sensitive to our agricultural production and to our environment and our rural communities were used, these projects could be built infinitely more quickly.
So what are we talking about? Putting them underground?
Yeah, using HVDC undergrounding technology.
Or if we had nuclear, we could use our existing connections, so we wouldn't need to build all these massive new transmission lines. I know a lot of city folk travel to the country on weekends or go for a drive, and they see these ugly structures. It really is destroying the beauty of the countryside, but for you, it's going to impact your livelihood.
It absolutely is. We live on a volcanic cone landscape, so it's fairly flat with these ancient volcanic cones. There's actually a World Heritage bid underway for our local area as one of the most intact goldfields in the world, and that's exactly the landscape that they want to push this infrastructure through. These towers will be taller than most of the hills in our district.
Wow. And is there any consultation with regional communities? Are they at least consulting with you where they'll put these lines? If they say they have to go up, but perhaps, there's a better option than straight through prime agricultural land that's going to impact our food production. This feeds the nation.
Not really. I heard a farmer recently describe it as what they consider consultation is actually negotiating the terms of our surrender. And I think that's where we need to go back to the drawing board and really understand the cost that this has to not only regional communities but our food security into the future.
Do you really think it's going to impact food security? It's that drastic?
Does anyone remember the chip shortage of 2022 when you couldn't buy frozen chips on your supermarket shelves?
Or paying $10 for some iceberg lettuce, I remember that one.
Yeah, so the Central Highlands is the heartland of Australian hot chip potato production, and we know that there's about 1,000 hectares of prime agricultural potato country that will be taken up with this project, and I can absolutely tell you now, if it goes through, our capacity to produce top yielding crops will be affected.
Now, I know our viewers care about this issue, whether they live in the cities or regional communities. What can they do to help?
We really need this to be made into an issue in the cities as well. So we've actually got something really exciting happening on Thursday. We are going to the Supreme Court to challenge the Victorian Labor government as to the legality of this project and the ministerial orders that Minister D'Ambrosio has made to try and push this kind of project through. So hopefully we get those ministerial orders quashed, and then we really need as many people as possible to support us to make sure they don't
So do you want them to write to their local MP?
Write to their local MP, make a noise about it. If you get polled on it, say how your food is produced is important to you.
Well said. Katherine Myers, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Rita.